Hi guys, it's Kristin of Kristin's ArtCart, and I'm here to invite you to a WeeOnes Mayflowers art class. WeeOnes art classes at my ArtCart studio are art classes specially designed for wee little artists. Students age 2 to 4 come with a parent or a favorite grown-up and make art together. All of the projects are specially designed for preschoolers and toddlers, filled with methods and techniques to build dexterity and hone fine motor skills, lots of lacing and tracing and cutting, and of course, lots of painting and having fun. So as I said, today's theme is Mayflowers. April showers bring Mayflowers, right? This April 2020, we have had a heck of a lot of showers. So I hope we have a heck of a lot of flowers. All three of the projects I planned for today remind me of two of my favorite artists. Usually at a WeeOnes art class, we do 2 or 3 projects, and we always break things up with snack and story time. There will be a story time in today's video as well. Unfortunately, I can't provide the snack. And then we do have 3 projects we can do. I will split the video up in segments because you may not want to do all of these projects at one time the way we do at my studio. You might not want to do it all in one sitting. So I did split it up in 3 different parts. And as I said, 2 of them remind me of one of my favorite artists. His name is Claude Monet. Can you say that with me? Claude Monet. Monet is an impressionist and very popular. There's a good chance if you look at pictures of his paintings with your mom or dad, you will say, yeah, I've seen this before. One of his most famous paintings is Water Lilies. And our first project looks a lot like Claude Monet's Water Lilies. And this is a really great project for you to do together. The first step involves the wee artist just painting however they want with beautiful, cool colors to create the watery background. And then you just use leftover tissue paper and create these beautiful little water lilies on the surface of the water. The second project also looks like a water lily, and it's one of my favorite projects ever. Some people will call it 3D. It's technically still 2D because you look at it, from one direction. It's not really very interesting to look at it from any other direction, but it is sculpture-like. It is a layering of paper. And in this case, I used paper plate, but you could also use any type of paint paper. And I'll go through the steps for it when we do this project together. And once again, the first step is going to involve the wee artist just having fun painting with watercolor. And then the 2 of you can build your water lily together. The last Mayflower project reminds me of one of my all-time favorite artists. Her name is Georgia O'Keeffe. Can you say that with me? Georgia O'Keeffe. And Georgia painted a lot of flowers. She painted other things too, but is arguably most famous for her flowers, and I love all of her flower paintings. I've taught her poppy painting. I've taught students to paint variations of her poppy paintings many times, and here is an adorable finger painting poppies painting that we will do together. Okay? So in a moment, I'll be right back and we will begin our first project. Okay, guys, are you ready to paint those water lilies? Water lilies is our first Mayflowers project. And the first step, WeeOnes, is all about you. Ask your grown-up to get your paint paper ready. I have mine taped down to this art board. You could have it taped down to your kitchen table, your craft table, wherever you paint. And I say tape down for 2 reasons. First of all, I have like a really bad habit of bumping my art and making things slide around when I don't want them to. And taping it down keeps it stable and keeps it still. Another reason I like to tape down my art is because when you remove the tape, then you have this beautiful framed effect. So if you do choose to tape down your edges, grown-ups, your job is to use masking tape. And here's a tip. You may have heard me say this if you've watched my videos before. Before you put the tape on your artist's paper. Take some tape, however long your strip is to cover a side, and press it onto your clothing first. Maybe a couple times. The reason I say to do this is the lint that you pick up will keep the tape from being too sticky. It will still be sticky enough to hold your paper down and mask it, but when you remove the tape, it won't rip your paper. So that's a great little technique that I learned when I used to teach in the schools. So grown-ups, that's your job, to get the paper ready. To do this lesson, you will of course need paint paper. I recommend tape. You will need possibly a water jar, maybe not, it sort of depends. You don't necessarily need to clean your brush or painting tool, which I'll show you. You have choices. Because it is a very mushy, beautiful, mottled, dappled look, like water has the dappled light from the moon or the sun. And I'll show you some techniques to do that. So you may not need a water jar, but just in case, you may want to have one. It's up to you. You will definitely want some paper towels and or some wet ones. Maybe just a nice wet kitchen towel or rag. You will want some paint, of course. Now for this project, I really recommend tempera paint, school paint, Crayola or Craftsmart, some generic version. I think even like Martin's, any grocery store has some school paint. I recommend cool colors for this, for water. Cool colors, remember, are named cool because they make you think of things that are cool, like water, like ice, like the sky, like cool grass. So we have blue, sorry, blues, purple. I have yellow, even though that is a warm color, because I'm going to blend it with my greens, just to give a little bit of light effect. I have white for that same reason, to blend, and I'll show you what I mean, okay? So you just have fun when you do this. If you would like to watch me first, you can use a paintbrush. You could use a cotton ball. You could use smushed up piece of paper towel, like this. Dip it in your paint. Dab, 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 dab. It already has that dappled look without even any other colors on there. Now it's okay if here and there, you decide you want to do a little bit of smearing. That's fine, but it's especially good if you dapple on top then. You can use cotton balls. I happen to have, because I have an art studio, I happen to have a whole lot of little pom-poms hanging around. So you can use pom-poms if you happen to have pom-poms, but just have fun. There is no right or wrong with this, except that we do want to try to use cool colors, and we do want to try to do dabbing more than rubbing, okay? Ooh, see how the white does that? It creates that pretty look. Let's get some green. I'm missing green. We need to see some green on here. I didn't clean anything, so I really don't think you're going to need that water. We're just going to blend, 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 blend. So I don't need any water. Let's see what happens if we add a little yellow to brighten it up. Ooh, that's pretty. It looks like sunlight mixing with that green. It's like sunlit water. I like that a lot. So you just have fun, wee ones. Dab, dab, dab. See what happens when you dab different colors together. What new colors can you make? Never underestimate white. White does such pretty creamy things when you dabble it, when you smush it, or any of those techniques I like to say. Isn't that pretty? See that? There's my beautiful pond. And you don't even really have to let it dry a little bit. You take your time, press pause if you need to. And when you're ready, turn me back on. And here's what we're going to do for the next step, for the flowers. You will need glue. And you know what? Maybe you have a closet or something in your house where you keep gift bags that you recycle and give gifts to other people in gift bags that were once given to you. And maybe those gift bags have old tissue paper in them. If they do, you're in luck. Once again, because I have an art studio, I have a big old bag of crazy tissue paper. And I selected out some sheets that are pretty colors. Now, if you notice, I have a base piece of tissue paper that is green. Any shade of green will do. This one is nothing but green because sometimes the lily pads don't have a flower on them. So this one is just a green smushed up piece of tissue paper. It's a different shade than the rest. All the rest of them have a base of the green, and then I just layered, and there is no special, specific, technical way to do this. You know, you just get some green tissue paper and glue it on. Put some glue. I'm going to do this so you can see what I'm doing. Put some glue down. Glue it on there. Now I'm going to layer it. So I'm going to get some of this pretty rosy pink. This is great for wee ones to squeeze that glue, strengthen their fingers, their hands. Ooh, that's such a pretty rosy color. And then I'm going to put a little bit of this light pink, just a little bit. It's amazing how the tiny scraps, that's why I'm saying if you find 2 bags, gift bags, you probably have enough. Ooh, that's so pretty. There's my first little lily pad flower. You just have fun doing this. See what kind of lily pads you can create, like Claude Monet. Ponds always make me think of spring and May because of the spring peepers. We're all so happy to get outside and hear the spring peepers and visit our ponds and our creeks and our lakes and rivers and streams. And of course, we love our Mayflowers. Ooh, that's a pretty purple, isn't it? I think I'll put that rosy color inside. There's my second one. I think 5 or 3 is a good number. I always like odd numbers. For some reason, odd numbers are just more interesting. I don't know why, they just are. I'm going to put this pretty little green leaf there. See how easy this is? There is nothing technical, and it's amazing how very, very beautiful this is. There's a pretty pale pink. Maybe we'll put a teeny bit of that pretty purple in the middle of this one. Oh, that's pretty. I like that. 3 little water lilies. And you can do 5. I think if you get much more than 5. This one has 3. The one I just created has 3. The one that I made before class has 5. I think if you get much more, you're going to cover all of your beautiful water. And that's part of our picture. We don't want to cover the water. Now watch what happens when I remove the tape. Ooh, we get this great frame. I love that. Then even without a frame, it appears framed. It just gives that matted look, that framed look. I don't know, I just think it takes it up a level. Then if you hang it on your refrigerator or your family bulletin board. Ooh, I love it, guys. Look how pretty. Mayflowers, water lilies. I'll be right back and we can build our water lily sculpture. Coming right back. Okay, I'm back. Are you ready to build a water lily this time? Another Claude Monet inspired Mayflower, a water lily that is a paper sculpture. Now, as I told you before, I used paper plates the first time I did this, but you don't have to use paper plates. You certainly can. You can also use just like cardstock paper. You do need it to be kind of sturdy paper. Now, I put all the parts that you need on one sheet of poster board. This is 11 by 14 inches. Now you can certainly make this smaller or bigger. I'd love to see what you guys come up with. You can make it smaller or bigger, but you do need these different layers. Layer number 1 is this biggest part here, this outline here. Then we need layer number 2, which is this one. Layer number 3. Layer number 4, 4 parts to the flower, and then 2 leaves. And I stapled my flower together, all the different parts, and then I actually stapled it onto a piece of paper. So if you want to do that, you will need a nice piece of cardstock, preferably a pretty spring color, but you could even paint that one too if you really wish, maybe just a solid color if you only have white. You could also just tape all the parts together and display your flower by itself like this. It doesn't have to go on a base piece of paper. I just chose to do that, but that's up to you. When you do this, options, options, choices, choices, you can build it all first and then have your WeeOne paint it, or you can have your WeeOne paint all of the different parts, let that dry, cut it out, and put it together. That's probably what I would recommend. When I taught this one at my studio, we had to do it in 1 hour and a half class time, and I didn't want wet pieces to be, constructed together. I want we artists to feel free to just paint away when it's their chance to paint. And I didn't want to say too much like, oh, please don't get it too wet. Please don't get it too wet. And I mean, sometimes you need to say that, but with this one, it's really imperative that the parts don't get too wet or you're not going to be able to put them together. So we built them first. And that's why you can see white in between the layers, because we built them first and then the WeeOnes painted it. I really think because you have the opportunity doing this at home, I would have them paint first. And you can even paint before you cut out. I'll show you. You will need watercolor. You could also use tempera paint, school paint for sure to do this. You will need a brush and water to do this lesson. I recommend paper towels. I always recommend paper towels. And then of course, cardstock or a paper plate. If you did a paper plate, you'll probably need a couple paper plates. Like I'm sure this one would take one paper plate. This one would take another. I think the last, 2 layers of flower and 2 leaves could be done on one paper plate. Or you could draw them all. You want to draw, grown-ups, a big one that is almost like a big cloud or a Gerber daisy look. The second one is very much like a cloud. The last 2 layers of the flower are a lot more defined. The petals are a lot more bigger. They're a lot bigger, a lot less bumpy. They're more separated. And then the 2 leaves. So you'll need 1, 2, 3, 4 parts, getting smaller as you go, and then 2 leaves. And you can just allow your WeeOne to paint away. Perhaps WeeOnes, you might want to think about what colors make sense. Not that colors have to make sense, because that's certainly not the first thing we think of, but we think of pretty green for leaves, right? Maybe mix a little yellow. It's so fun to mix colors. For this other leaf, I'm going to put some yellow in it. And then just have fun with the rest. What are your favorite colors for flowers? Maybe what's your mommy's favorite color? Or your Nana's? Or your Mimi? Or your Gaga? Or Baba? Whatever you call your grandmother. Maybe you have a favorite aunt or sister. See what happens when you mix the colors together on the paper. Make this beautiful, colorful flower. Ooh, I love that pretty bright blue, don't you? It can be real watery. Anybody who's painted with me knows I love watery watercolors. And then you may need to let yours dry for a little while before you cut it out. Ooh, it's fun just to see what the brush strokes do, don't you think? Just to go around and around. I'm going to cut out my parts to my flower, and I'll be right back, and we will build our watercolor together. How you guys doing? You got all your parts painted and cut out? I'm cutting out the last few. I have most of mine cut out here. I'm going to cut out the last level of my flower. You know, this is an abstract water lily, so this is a great opportunity if your wee one is closer to a preschooler than a toddler. It is a great opportunity for them to practice cutting. Take your time and just follow the lines, and it does not have to be perfect. It is a fun, abstract watercolor. I outlined my drawing with Sharpie so that you could see it very well. Because of that, I made sure to be very careful to get the Sharpie cut away. I didn't want to see those black lines. Now I'll cut my last leaf and I'll be ready to build this together. Sometimes when we are making art, we forget about very practical tools like staplers. Don't underestimate a stapler. I'm going to use a stapler to put these parts together. You should see the stapler, guys. What's it say on it? It says Sears. It is so old and it is so heavy. It belonged to my mother or my father. I don't know. I don't know how I still have it. Isn't it so funny how you lose things and there's other things you seem to have for a really long time? Those two layers together. Now let me show you a cool little trick. Actually, let's wait. Let's wait till we get all the pieces on and then we'll do it. Now I'm going to staple on the next level. And finally, I'm going to staple on the top level. I kind of like to put a staple for each level rather than trying to make one do the job completely. Isn't that so cute already? Now here's a cute little trick. Ready? And you'll notice that mine pops up a little bit, which does add to that 3D effect. If you take a pencil and curl, you can make your different layers lift. And then you could paint those too. You could go back in and paint those layers too. I'll show you. And really make it more 3D. Take a pencil and use it to curl each petal. Isn't that neat? See if you can do it, WeeOnes. Curl it on the pencil. Maybe you like the white showing. Or maybe you want to paint the underside of those edges. I can't decide. The first couple petals, I thought I definitely was going to want to paint them, but now I'm kind of liking that white contrast popping up. You decide what you think and put it on Facebook and show me. I would love to see your water lilies that you build. This is one of my favorite lessons, but I've only done it one time. Now 2 times. Isn't that great? I don't recycle too often because I'm always coming up with new ideas. I'm always seeing something and I think, oh my gosh, that will be perfect for WeeOnes, or oh, that'll be perfect for my junior art class. I gotta confess, I think about WeeOnes an awful lot. I'm always coming up with ideas for WeeOnes. See how I'm curling all the edges? Gosh, you know what, doing this, I might not even want to put this on a piece of paper. This could stand and not even be displayed hanging. It could be displayed sitting. Truly like a sculpture, like a water lily floating. I love that. Isn't that so cool, guys? And when it's down, you can paint those edges. We need to staple on our leaves. It's amazing how great staples are for putting art pieces like this together. We don't really mind seeing them at all. Let's see, how do I want that leaf? I think I want it right next to the other one. I kind of like it when the 2 leaves are near each other rather than sticking out on each side. I kind of like when they are together off to one side. See what I mean? How it's so how they're together to one side. I love this. And then you could just display it like that. You don't even have to hang it up. But if you choose to, you could staple it onto a piece of paper, which is beautiful too. Kind of a 3D looking card for grandma or somebody for Mother's Day. Isn't that beautiful? I love this. That was our second water lily Monet inspired Mayflower. When I come back, we're going to do our Georgia O'Keeffe inspired poppy. Okay guys, so I forgot, story time. How could I forget? Before our last project, we always take a break for snack and story time. So grab your snacks, hit pause if you need to, grab your blanket, grab your pillow, and get ready for Chippy Chipmunk. Chippy Chipmunk parties in the garden. Photographs and story by Kathy M. Miller, who photographs right here in my home state of Pennsylvania. Chippy Chipmunk parties in the garden. Let me get my watercolor out of the way. Okay. Chippy Chipmunk parties in the garden. Look at all the pictures of Chippy. He's so cute. I have so many chipmunks in my yard. My kids and my husband and I joke and call it Chipmunk Manor because we have so many chipmunks and they're so fast and they just zoom all around like little dune buggies with their little tails in the air. Chippy Chipmunk parties in the garden. Look how pretty that picture is. I love it. Chippy awoke from a long winter's nap. Feeling hungry, he scampered up the top of a big rock and listened for sounds of danger. Bluebirds and cardinals sing their sweet songs of spring. Munch, munch, munch went the cottontail rabbit. Chippy set off to explore the garden. He hopped on a chair and bounded up a bush and ran up and down a tree, where he met a bushy gray squirrel who was cleaning his tail. He danced cheerfully around the flowers that tickled his nose. He stretched up high on the tips of his toes. Even Chippy stops to smell the flowers, guys. May flowers. Yippee, Chippy chirped, discovering a soft patch of leaves. He stuffed his mouth full and dashed off to his secret burrow. These will make a comfy bed. Look at him peeking out of that. It's so cute. He covered his burrow with stones he collected from an underground drainage pit. How do you suppose he carried up those stones? Do you know? Can you guess? Yep, he stuffed them in his cheeks. Cheek pouches can carry just about anything. Foraging for food, Chippy zigzagged through the plants. He always stayed alert for signs of predators. He surprised a flicker who was feeding on ants. Ants, yuck! Grubs are my favorite bugs. Gross, huh? Peeking through the garden blossoms, he sniffed around for scrumptious seeds and nuts or berries. He even stayed out when it rained. Did you see him in the flowers there? Every so often he felt itchy. Using his hind foot, he scratched himself vigorously, just like a dog or cat. Peekaboo! Can you find him? There he is. Suddenly he felt a vibration. Uh-oh, thought Chippy. I would make a tasty meal for a snake. He sat very still. Oh, it's only a box turtle, wandering slowly through the grass. She let out a big yawn and continued on her way. Aw, so many friends in nature Chippy's seeing today. Chippy felt thirsty, so he darted over to the bird bath. He stretched his body over the edge and slurped up the cool water. Determined to find food, he scooted up to the top of a branch to get a better look. Then he spotted something great. Hooray, it's party time! What do you think he spotted, guys? Ah, a chickadee, a downy woodpecker, a nuthatch, a titmouse, and a blue jay. We're having a peanut party. Oh my goodness. Chippy's going to want in on that action, right? Chippy quickly stopped hunting for acorns because he just couldn't wait to go to the peanut party. He wagged his tail side to side as he hatched his plan. Climbed up the post. His feet gripped the pole and up he flew. With a flying leap, he landed on the feeder, crawled inside, and retrieved his prize. With a hop, skip, and a jump, he went speeding back to one of his secret hiding places. Boop, 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 boop. He stashed his bounty in his burrow. Back and forth he ran to the feeder until his burrow and his tummy were full. Now it's time to take a chipmunk bath. And he's given himself a little bath there, just like a kitty cat would do. He licked his paws to clean his face and whisked his tail through his nose and his mouth. He didn't forget to wash behind his ears. See? Oh my goodness. Then he stretched out his legs and gave each a good scrub. Chippy was heading back across the garden when all of a sudden he saw a terrifying sight. Oh my goodness. A red-tailed hawk was diving straight towards him. Run, Chippy, run! Oh my goodness. You didn't really think he'd catch me, did ya? Let's party! And that is Chippy Chipmunk, Parties in the Garden by Kathy M. Miller. I thought this was a great choice, a garden book for our May Flowers art class. If you like that, there's also Chippy Chipmunk Babies in the Garden by Kathy M. Miller. Those are two great books for youngsters. And now I'll be right back. Okay, guys, our last May Flowers art painting today is the Georgia O'Keeffe inspired poppies. And this is a finger painting, which is awesome. Where did I put the piece of paper? I just had it. Hold on, kiddos. Hold on just one moment. I'm sorry, I'll be right back. Finally, I have all my ducks in a row. Okay, if you would like to do the Georgia O'Keeffe inspired poppies, and who wouldn't because it's finger painting, you need, again, tempera paint, school paint. These are the colors that you need. You need red, yellow, and green, and I have two on here, and you need black. You will need wet ones or a wet paper towel or a wet rag, paper towels to help you clean your hands as you paint along. You can do the whole thing with your fingers if you wish, especially we artists because your sweet little fingers are so teeny, so even your stems can be nice and skinny. If you would like to, you can do the stems of the flowers with a paintbrush. Okay, now I'm going to tilt the screen a little bit so that you can see. Step one is to put the red parts of the poppies down. And I kind of like to do, again, odd numbers, 3, 5, but you wee ones, you do what you want. And I kind of like to have some a little high and some a little low, just so there's fun and a little bit more than just one row of the top part of my paper. But you do want to do these up in the top part because the green grass is going to fill the bottom part. So we're going to I'm going to tilt my paper here and hold this down. I'm going to get red paint, and this is what you're going to do. Use your pointer finger, and you're going to put red dots. And I like to get paint almost every time I make a fingerprint on here because I want this to be bright, vibrant red. And you just put as many little fingerprints as it takes to complete a circle, leaving it open in the middle. And if there's little flicks of paint or drips of paint that happen, try not to get too upset about that. That can happen whenever you paint and you're trying to use big fingerprints full of paint for each print. Sometimes you can incorporate them into the picture. Sometimes they dry and you don't even know they're there. I'm going to put another one up here. Each time you're just going to make a ring of fingerprints, leaving it hollow in the middle. And you can do 3, you can do 5, you can do whatever you want to do. I'm going to clean my finger there and get ready for step 2. If you need to pause it and make more rings, you go right ahead. The next step is to use black and fill the middle. And we want to fill the whole middle. We don't want any white peeking through. And the inside of the face is black. Isn't that so pretty already? I love it. And you do that. Take as much time as you need. Hit pause to do that. And I'm going to use a brush because poppies have long, skinny stems, and I don't know if my finger is going to be able to do that. So I'm going to do a brush. You're welcome to use your finger for this part too. And I just like to have a long, stringy, weavy. They're so floaty. They're like little balloons floating. And that's how I'm going to make my stems. If you want to, you can mix a little darker green in too. It's up to you. A lot of times you might think the light green is pretty enough all on its own. And then for the grass, guys, this is so cool. Take as much time as you need, like the other 2 steps. To do the grass, and I found this really fun and surprisingly effective in getting that natural shooting up and surrounding everything look that grass has. Here's what I did. I went 1, 2, 3, 4. I got all 4 fingers, and then I just shot up like this. Isn't that so fun? And it really looks like grass. Like, it's so cool. It actually gives a really cool grassy result. I'm going to try it with some of the other darker green. I really like that, guys. That's the next step. I think I need a wet one here. And the last thing we're going to do, take as much time as you need on the grass. The last thing we're going to do is add a little yellow dot to the face of each poppy on the black. Now I'm going to let this one dry because I just did it. The good news is I have this one, which I already did. And you can use a brush. You can use the back end of your brush if you wish. Sometimes people like to use the back end when they're trying to make a nice specific little kind of dot. But you're just going to do a very teeny. We don't need it to be big. It does its work just being a little teeny dot. But see, because that black is dry, our little yellow dot is laying right on top like we want it to. If I did this to this one over here, while that black, all that beautiful black paint is very wet, if I tried to dot my yellow in, there's a very good chance that my yellow paint will sink right into that black, blend right into that black, and lose all of its bright little light quality that it has there, just cheering up the little faces of our little poppies like it does here in this one. So those are the 4 parts: red, black, stems and grass, and the little yellow dot. And you have our sweet little Georgia O'Keeffe inspired poppies for our May Flowers art class. I hope you enjoyed this class, wee ones. Our May Flowers was a great way to end things. If you like doing this May Flowers Wee Ones class with me, feel free to like and share and subscribe. And I will look forward to seeing you again next time. You have a great day, and happy Mother's Day to all of you mothers. Thanks again. Bye-bye.